Hello, this is a quick overview of automatic software test generation, work undertaken in GameCore, the computing research group at IT Carlo. My name is Dr. Chris Medek. So what are we talking about here? We're talking about automatic software test generation, where we try to generate tests according to the source code of a program. During normal execution, we go through a particular path of execution, which we can view as a maze. And we can go here, for example, from left to right through that maze. And depending on your input data, you go through a particular path. And that one might be different depending on the data that you enter. So as we know, software development is not perfect, and there's bugs lurking in that maze. There's some darker looking bugs, which are nicer ones. They're easier to spot every time you go through that particular path of execution. An error or misbehavior can be detected. Other ones are more stealth and are harder to spot, in that sometimes you might find the error, sometimes you might not, depending on the actual data, precise data that was used to go through that particular path. One thing to note is that exhaustive software testing is impossible. We cannot test every single path, and we cannot test every single inputs either. It's just too many of them. So what do we need to do to be able to explore these paths and hopefully discover all of those bugs, including the white ones, which are a bit harder to find? We need to execute the code, but with specific data. So we need to construct data that makes sure that in advance, by construction, we will go through all of the paths. So that may require 1,000 tests or more, but we need to generate those tests automatically. This is currently not done. It's usually typically done manually, because this generation, this test data generation, requires intelligence. Most of our tools are not intelligence. So how do we explore this code maze intelligently? What we do in IT Carlo is we use symbolic execution guided by constraint solving. So depending on the path that we want to follow, we execute the code symbolically rather than with actual values, and we collect constraints as we go along, and at the end of a path, we generate a solution using a constraint solver. Testing tools developed on this is to improve coverage to complete test suites automatically, or generate highly adequate regression test suites for code where there is no test available, for example, for legacy code. Generating tests that raises exception. Here's a test that will raise an exception in your code on that line. Okay, we can generate tests to do that. Or code querying to help with development. A use case is give me test inputs that will reach this line in the code satisfying this condition. So there the developer would say, on that line, I want X to be equal to 25 and Y to be equal to 42. Give me a test that at the start of the function will actually reach that line with those constraints in mind. Okay, and we can generate a test to do that. I'm looking to share this work with companies and with researchers and students. And here are the details of what we can do and what we're looking for. My contacts are below. Thank you.